Camera right now, and I'll start the time when you start talking.
Hello, my name is Daniel, and first I would like to start off with something from my childhood. A movie that had a big impact on me in my childhood was Jurassic Park. It just captivated me, what they portrayed in that movie, bringing like some primeval species that we would otherwise never be able to see back to life in the movie. Of course, as I grew up, I realized that we couldn't really bring dinosaurs back to life and that this process of de-extinction wasn't possible in that way. However, later, after that, in my teenage years, I did learn that, at least in some sense, the spirit of what we see in Jurassic Park is possible, and it is not the mad science that it is portrayed as in that movie, and it has tangible benefits. My main claim is that de-extinction offers a very promising means for conserving Earth's biodiversity. Now, before I begin, I should explain what I mean by these two terms, de-extinction and biodiversity. De-extinction refers to the process of artificially, through selective breeding or cloning, processes like that, bringing back a species of organism on Earth that has gone extinct. So basically what it sounds like. And biodiversity is simply a measure of the total variety of all life on Earth. And I will prove the need for de-extinction and improve its use through three main points. One, that natural methods of conservation fail to preserve many organisms and environments. Two, that the current mass extinction has irreparably harmed biodiversity in a way that these conservation efforts cannot help. And third, that de-extinction has been made practical and well-rounded through modern science and technology. So for my first point, natural conservation efforts fail to preserve many organisms and ecosystems. I'm not saying that these are useless. In fact, these methods are very useful, preserving habitats, and those such methods are useful. But there are ways in which there are gaps there that they can't overcome. For example, the IUCN Red List, an international database of the conservation of organisms, shows that there's an irreparable loss of habitat for species like the polar bear, and the sea ice where it has lived on has been declining 14% per decade. Now, we can't stop global warming that causes this, like with modern conservation technology. And another organism that demonstrates this is the orangutan, where the rainforest that it lives in has been fragmented by human development, and the orangutans are forced into small populations that aren't viable by things such as freeways and human settlements. Laura Hood, a biodiversity policy writer, reports that only 1/5 of the natural world forest cover remains intact. So that's something that's gone. We've put cities and things like that in its place, and that habitat is already lost irreplaceably. There are also problems where where we don't know why species have gone extinct. The IUCN notes that many frog species have been declining for unknown conditions, which makes conserving them very difficult because we don't know why they're going extinct. Furthermore, many keystone species, which is a species that is very important to its ecosystem and in regulating its ecosystem, have gone extinct. National Geographic explains that there is a domino effect when a keystone species is lost. So, for example, as Robert T. Payne, a zoologist, noted, removing one sea star in a tidal ecosystem caused an outbreak of mussels that crowded out other species in that ecosystem. My second point is that the current wave of mass extinction has already irreparably harmed biodiversity. The researchers, Sabalos et al., using a very conservative assumption of the current rate of extinction, have shown that it is 100 times higher than the background rate. And the number of species gone extinct in the last century would have taken 800 to 1,000 years naturally. The IUCN reported 1.8 million species have been described out of 5 to 30 million, so that means that there are species that we haven't even discovered that are going extinct, and there's nothing we can do about that. One example of a species already going extinct is the passenger pigeon, which was once one of the most populous birds in the world in the 1800s, but by 1914 was extinct, again according to the IUCN. My final point is that advancements in science and technology make de-extinction a practical and well-rounded investment. Now, this is where a lot of the controversy comes from, where scientists such as John Williams ask, why invest millions of dollars in bringing back a handful of species from the dead when there are millions still waiting for it to be discovered? But positions like this fail to see the benefits of this technology and the advancements that this technology has made. The National Geographic tells the story of the Pyrenean ibex, an extinct goat that went extinct in 2000 but was brought back through cloning in 2003. Sadly, the clone died, but already in 2003, they had the technology to fully bring an animal back to life. Furthermore, the scientist George Church analyzed fragments of DNA from the passenger pigeons, which I had previously mentioned, and invented technology to manufacture the DNA to splice into living pigeons so that we could create an egg that is genetically identical to the passenger pigeon. And this method can work on any animal with a close living relative and a genome that can be reconstructed. So this technology, as National Geographic notes, can be easily used to preserve not only species that have already gone extinct, but endangered species that do not breed naturally in captivity. And it becomes cheaper as advancements are made. So, in conclusion, de-extinction is a very promising way of conserving biodiversity because natural conservation fails to preserve many different species and ecosystem. The current mass extinction has already irreparably harmed biodiversity, and modern science and technology make de-extinction practical as well as a well-rounded investment. Thank you for listening.
All right, you've all been very patient. Thank you. I'll go quickly. The propositions clearly identified. Excellent layout of the contents. The controversy needs a little bit more development. You've got some of that when you get to that third point. The signposting on the structural stuff is all good. The problem that I see here is that you spend a lot of time on the first 2 points and not enough time on the third point. When you get to the third point, you're essentially out of time, but you go over time almost 1 minute and 40 seconds so that you can talk about that third point, and that's the one where you acknowledge on your own that that's where most of the controversy is. So I think the first 2 points needed to be condensed a little bit. The third point needed to be expanded and gotten to a little bit earlier. You did a good job citing your sources. There's a lot of reading that goes on in the presentation. You need to be able to speak to us a little bit more. But I tell you what, your vocal inflection while you were reading was actually pretty good. So if I'm not paying attention to you visually, you're doing okay. But every time I look up, there you are with your nose down on the notes, and that's a little bit problematic. Thank you all very much for your patience this evening.